So let me go a little deeper on what I was thinking about when it came to my addictions.
Sure.
So from basically the age of 18 to 38, in my opinion, I was probably a functional alcoholic. I drank every day.
Okay.
And again, now that I look back at it, I've had a little wisdom doing London Real the last few years, and I'll tell you a little more why.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was getting away from me, who I think was driving me to be the ultimate best at what he does, and I'll get to that shortly. I'm very smart. I know that this was a stupid behavior. It was a temporary fix that I usually paid for dearly the next day and repeatedly paid for.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, because of my resolve or whatever, I managed to, eke out what most people would call a successful life. And the more I did it, the more I think my self-esteem dropped a little bit because I couldn't control this about myself, whereas I could find success, whatever that means, in other aspects of my life. And so it wasn't until I started doing this show and I had a first ayahuasca ceremony that I was like, okay, now I'm going into a realm I'm not familiar with. It was scary, but part of me knew there was something there. And I had my second ayahuasca ceremony, and while we're being so honest, I was pretty much right here at the time on a sofa. And I distinctly remember laying down on this sofa after I had the plant medicine, and I was crying so much that the tears were going down my eyes and dripping down off my ears. And I still remember the tears dripping off my ears. And I was going back, I was visualizing a 7-year-old boy. And this was me when my parents divorced.
Yeah.
And this was this little boy that was building up all these walls around him because he had been hurt so much. And so for me, it was like no one's getting in the rest of my life. And maybe, based on what I've read about your stuff, my attempting to excel in the world was to show the world that they needed me, so maybe that's why I went to MIT and got the job in banking, these kinds of things. And so seeing that in that ceremony just showed me how I would just shut off from the world. And I think that brought on more pain and more judgment on myself. And so from then on, I kind of tried to make sure that I kind of opened my heart up to a lot of these things, and also to try to reconnect to this world that I couldn't connect to earlier. So that was kind of my story.
Well, it's an archetypical story.
Yeah.
So first of all, you're hurt as a child, and then you have to compensate for it. So you compensate in two ways. One is by becoming a success, and like I said about myself, when you get the message when you're a young child that the world doesn't want you and need you, then one great way to deal with it is to go to medical school, because now they're going to need you all the time.
Right.
And the more they need you, the more positive feedback you get, the more you get sucked into it.
Right.
But as for your success, quote unquote, and mine success, quote unquote, there's a subtext, which is a real niggling, not even spoken, but definite fear inside. Do they really want me? Or is it what I'm doing for them that they want? So this is where the hunger comes from. You can never get enough. Because by doing, you're never satisfied when your hunger is about being and not having been accepted just for being. Now, that's one way to compensate. When despite all your best efforts and your successes and your ability to impress people, the gnawing pain still shows up, now you use something to soothe the pain. And what do you say about somebody who drinks too much, by the way? There's an old expression.
It's someone just like you. No, it's someone you don't like who drinks as much as you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, fair enough. No, but it's more specific. When somebody's drunk too much, there used to be an old saying, they're feeling no pain.
Okay.
They're feeling no pain. Well, that's exactly what it's about.
Right.
Now, look, in terms of what you said about escape from yourself, Keith Richards, who, as you know, had a ferocious heroin habit for a while, in his book, Life, his autobiography, he says, I'm paraphrasing, but it's very close. He says, the contortions we go through just not to be ourselves for a few hours. And that discomfort with the self originates back to being a 7-year-old and even younger than 7, because the divorce happened when you were 7, but your parents were miserable and unhappy with each other for years before then. Otherwise, they wouldn't have got divorced. And guess what that misery was all about in your mind? It's all about you.
Me, yeah.
Because children interpret the world in those narcissistic ways, that whatever happens is because of me. So you failed to make your parents happy. And of course you're uncomfortable with yourself. Not to mention, the more sensitive a child is, the more he or she absorbs the stresses and tensions and upsets of their parents. That's a lot to deal with. And it's a lot to deal with, especially when there's nobody there to talk to about it, who can actually listen to how you feel and validate your emotions and give you some support. Then you just develop this idea that I gotta do it all myself, I'm on my own.
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.